Afternoon, Cherries fans, and welcome to the latest opposition preview here on Up the Cherries in all departments. After our defeat against Blackburn at the weekend, where we got beat 2-0, we do have a trip away at 12:30, thanks to Sky, to Middlesbrough. Middlesbrough are just outside the playoffs as well, as we will discuss. But firstly, here's a little bit about our sponsors, Dental on the Banks. To find out what they can do for you, visit dentalonthebanks.co.uk. Now, my special guest today is a Middlesbrough fan, a season ticket holder, and it is a pleasure to welcome on Craig Wilkinson. How you doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you.
Excellent stuff, and thank you for joining me at such short notice as well. So, firstly, what do you make of the 12:30 kickoff? I guess it's not too bad for you guys.
Well, this one's okay, but we've had a few at the beginning of this season, especially last season. I think we had a 12:30 Luton away. We've had a 12:30 Cardiff away. So yeah, we've had Cardiff was actually just a couple of weeks ago, but yeah, so we've had a few, and especially from yous travelling up here to horrendous. That I mean, but money talks, I suppose, and they can dictate kick-off times. But I mean, I don't know why they can't put a 5:30 if it's for travelling fans, but yeah. So.
I believe, just from a message from one of my friends, who's Mark at a Cherish Trust, I think it is a case of you would have to leave at about 1 o'clock in the morning. So a lot of fans are just going overnight and staying up there. So it would make a lot more sense out from that perspective. Unfortunately, I'm not going, but I will be watching on Sky tomorrow. But let's find out a little bit more about your season and how it's gone so far. So you started the season under Neil Warnock, a very familiar name in the Championship. How did the season start, and do you agree with why Warnock was pushed out the door?
It's a hard one because I love the man. I mean, when he took over, we were going to go down. We were going to go into League One. He took over. I think there was 9 games left. He won five of those, kept us up. But the club was in turmoil. We had players on massive wages, players at end of contracts. Obviously, COVID was there, so some contracts were up and they weren't signing that extension to play. So he stabilized. He kept us up, stabilized the club. As you talk in the beginning of this season, he had a big clear out. He said at the end of last season that he needed 10 to 12 signings because of the players leaving, and he had to kind of rejig the squad, and he got those. I think we signed 11 players in the summer, which I know is a lot, and we were excited. There was a mixture between experience with a little unknown. We've signed some unknown players from abroad, from a new scouting network that we've the club's put in, and then we've got some good youngsters at the club from the academy as well. So we were kind of excited about where the season was going to go and what was going to happen. But I suppose with how it started, it just total inconsistency. We would win a game, lose a game. We couldn't string two wins together. In fact, just before we got sacked, he won 3 in a row, Warnock. But I mean, there were against teams at the bottom of the league. We won three games 2-0. But they were all against right at the lower end of the league in poor form. And we made a change the week after those. I mean, he got hit with bad injuries. We had a lot of injuries. Coupled that with some transfer decisions that we don't know who made them. He let a couple of the younger lads go out on loan. And Sam Morsey left the club, who was instrumental kind of in the season before in midfield. So, I mean, Coulson, Hayden Coulson, who's a young lad from the academy, he left and he's gone to Ipswich on loan. Jed Spence, who it's kind of like he's a fan's favourite. He plays like on the right-hand side wing-back. He let him go out on loan when he was playing every game at right wing-back, and he let him go out on loan, but we were short. So then Warnock was kind of moaning that the squad was too thin. So it was kind of, you didn't know if someone above him was making decisions about getting certain players out or what. But I think the time came when obviously January's coming up, and from what we can hear, that the club have got some money to spend in January. And Warnock was only, when he took over, it was only going to be for 3 months, and then he signed a year, and then he signed for this year. And I know for the future of the club, you can't keep going on a 12-month, just rolling over your manager every 12 months. And we had heard that Wilder was kind of being primed to replace Warnock. I mean, some people have said with who was it? Was it Norwich and Villa both lost managers in the same week that we got rid of Warnock, and it was kind of we got the feeling from the club it was kind of, oh, we need him now, we can't afford not to get him. So, and with January coming, I don't think they wanted to give Warnock the money in January to get his players, when, in all honesty, probably 6 months later, those players would be getting recycled back out the club for Wilder and the new recruitment team to get their players in. So I think taking the emotion out of it, I think, yeah, it's probably the right decision. I mean, but as a man, Warnock was just what we needed. He stabled the ship, he kept us up, solidified the club. We've got players who are playing now, experienced, solid pros, who we would never have signed, really, I don't think. And some of our performances, even under Wilder in the last month, they've been down to them, like Sol Bamba and Peltier. Not Johnny Howson, sorry, Duncan Watmore, who Warnock brought in on a free. So they've been playing really well under Wilder, and it's because Warnock came in and kind of, the average age of the squad was really low. It was kind of like mid-early 20s, and he's brought the average age up with his experience. So, yeah, like I said, I think if you take the emotion out of it, I think it was probably the right decision. Yeah.
Warnock's always been a character, and he's an interesting man, isn't he? We've all seen the YouTube videos of him, giving verbals and such like. So, I'm sure that he'll be back in the game sooner rather than later. But Wilder is a good manager. What he did with Sheffield United and pulling them from League One into the Premier League and keeping the first season was fantastic. Last season, of course, it completely capitulated. But what sort of things does he need to change in January at Middlesbrough? And where would you say the real weaknesses are at the moment?
Weaknesses, I would say our injuries. He's actually said that he's kind of assessing the full club from top to bottom. Kieran Scott came to the club in the summer from Norwich. So he's head of football. So I think Kieran Scott's been working with the intention that Wilder was coming. And there's rumours that Andy Scott, who's coming in as chief scout, who's worked around the Championship for years. But he's even said that the medical department needs looking at because of the amount of injuries that the club has had over the past 12, 18 months, really. I mean, last season probably injuries cost us a place in the playoffs. We were kind of teetering just below with 6 weeks to go, 8 weeks to go, and we injury after injury after injury, and it ended up like costing us. So yeah, he said that he's kind of they need to look at the medical side. At playing side, some of the players who we brought in the summer, I don't think that they could just go straight in the Championship. We've signed an Argentinian called Piero, and he's cost a lot of money for what our budgets are at the minute. I think it's a total of about £6 million, and he's an absolute player. Like, he's a fan's favourite. He didn't play much under Warner for whatever reason, so hopefully he can get the best out of him. There's another player called Lee Saliki we've brought in on loan from France. Again, he came. Warner kind of slagged him off in the media. Didn't really play much, and we haven't seen him under Wilder either. So hopefully the players that came in the summer, the bit of the unknowns that would be a bit of a shock to the Championship, hopefully like Wilder can get the best out of them. I mean, he's tightened us up defensively already. We were making so many mistakes at the back this season. Yeah, I think I know Wilder's brought in his number 2 with him as well. So it's like fresh face around the training ground as well. So, but I think with a few signings in January, I don't think, with a bit of momentum, I mean, like, he's only lost one game. With a bit of momentum, hopefully we can push on in the new year.
And you are dangerous side on your day. You know, that is one thing that I have picked up. And with those players as well, the international players, of course, we've had them before. And they do take a little bit of adapting to the English game. One most notable is Dan Juma, who, of course, tore up the Championship last season, is now at Villarreal in the Champions League. Of course, he didn't play for the season prior to that. So it goes to show what can happen, and, you know, once they do adapt, what they can bring to the table. But do tell us and give us an overview of how Middlesbrough are likely to line up against a Bournemouth team who really, we're a little bit on the ropes at the moment.
Yeah, well, don't do yourself a disservice. You've only lost one. Is it one in the last 5?
No, we got beat by Blackburn, beaten by Derby, and beaten by Preston. I think the Preston game is just outside of that 5. But
when I was looking at your form, it didn't look. I know there wasn't many wins there, but I thought you're still dangerous. But yeah, I think Wilder's generally been lining up a back 3. People are saying about these how we did at Sheffield United with these centre backs overlapping. We haven't seen too much of that really, because I mean, obviously he just has to kind of like structure the team and the squad first before he starts implementing all the extras tactics that he does. But he has been playing with 3 at the back with wing backs, like a high energy 3 in midfield and 2 up front. He's a bit restricted up front, really, what he can do. We've got Watmore and Sporrer, who he is a really good player, but he's just not getting, the balls are not dropping to him, and he's not getting just those clear-cut chances that he is. But I mean, from watching the game tomorrow, you'll be able to see his movement and his touch and his link-up play. It's really, really good. And to be honest, like, he's on loan for this season. We have got some clauses to buy him at the end of the season, but I'll be surprised if we have still got him, to be honest, because I think he is like a level above us. But yeah, I mean, the wing backs getting forward, we've got youth and energy and pace on the wing. We've got a young lad, Isaiah Jones, on the right, who's like, he was a winger by trade, but he's playing wing back at the minute. On the left hand side, we've got Bolu, who's full of energy, and in the midfield we've got Crooks, Howson, and I don't think Piero will be playing because he's just kind of like coming back into the team. But there's a lot of probably Tavernier, Tavo's local lad. So there's a lot of legs, a lot of energy. They try and keep the ball, press the ball. So it's hit and miss. I mean, when we played, it wasn't Preston. Sorry, we pressed and pressed and we kept the ball, and then in the last 20, 25 minutes, the players were dead on the feet, because you can see how Wilder's trying to implement his style of play, where it's high energy. You try and press from the front. When you attack, you get men forward. When you defend, you get back. Like, and I know Wilder, like one of his famous quotes is like, "You don't praise someone for running." Like, that is Roy Keane would say, that's your job. They're like, just 100% effort is the bare minimum what he demands, really. So you could tell that the players were kind of like dead on the feet. So the last 20 minutes hanging on. But we could go the other way. That's what I mean. It's Middlesbrough. We could turn up. We could not string a pass together. We could be lethargic. Who knows? Honestly, the way the season's gone, it's been slightly better the last month. But the way the season's gone, we don't know. We generally, the feeling is when we're the underdog, so we're not really taking into consideration Bournemouth's form at the minute. Yeah. But with them being second in the league, we're saying that we're the underdog. We generally do well as an underdog. So hopefully.
Well, to be honest, the one thing that worries me there is you beat Preston, and also the pressing as well. You did beat Preston, didn't you?
Yeah.
We can never beat them, so yeah, that's worrying from our perspective. How do you think you will stop us if we are on our day like we were against Fulham? I know Fulham that pulled it back to 1-1, but it was really a highlight for the Championship. But you've also got that early season form as well. If we're on our day, how do you think you're going to stop us?
Honestly, I wouldn't know. I think it'd be. I mean, we need to keep Solanke quiet. We need to keep him tight. I mean, he's having the season of his life really so far, isn't he? And if he's on form with his movement, I mean, we not under Wilder. Like I'd give him his due because we haven't conceded too many under Wilder, but we have. If we've come up against a good striker, they generally score. We struggle against them. Will it be a little bit of clever movement or just a chance in the box that falls to them? So, I mean, depending who he plays, I mean, Sol Bamba's been brilliant for us at the back, but whether or not he could kind of like face up to Solanke's pace, but Dale Fry's back, who's a Borough lad who he's just come back last game. So if he plays, that's a plus. So I don't know.
And plus, we've got Jordan Zamora back as well. Potentially, that is the rumor that's coming through this morning. So, yeah, hopefully, fingers crossed. You know, that will be a great addition back to the side, considering his early season form was brilliant. But then again, it is just in time for the African Cup of Nations as well. So it'll be back off again in January.
Yeah, January. Well, if it goes ahead, January.
Yeah, that's very true. But finally, the last question is, how do you think it's going to go tomorrow, Craig? Do you think you can do it? Or do you think we've got a little bit too much?
We can. It's a typical Borough fans blinded optimism. Yeah, we could go into a game. We'll win today. Everyone will play brilliant. We'll create loads of chances. Solid at the back, no problem. We turn up 20 minutes in. We could be 3 down. So, I mean, like I said, under Wilder, we've been tighter at the back. We are creating more. We're having a lot more chances, a lot more shots. And I know you don't concede many away, do you? Is your average 1.5? Maybe 1?
I believe so. Yeah, I haven't looked it up, to be honest. I'm not really a stato, but you know, I believe it's something like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, you don't concede many away. I mean, we don't score a lot. Considering now, like I said, Watmore's hit a little bit of form. Sporer's a really good forward. But I mean, we've got threats. We've at set pieces. We've got Crooks, who we call the Tree. He's about 6'3", so he's huge. We've got, like I said, Dale Fry, we call the Lighthouse. So we have got threats at set pieces. But I mean, it offered me, considering you're second, offered me a draw, I'd probably take it.
Fair enough. And to be honest, considering our recent form, we need to get back to winning ways. But, you know, to be honest, a draw up at Middlesbrough at 12:30, you know, isn't necessarily the worst result in the world. But we need to get a win from somewhere. I'm just not sure where at the moment.
I know. Well, it's trying to get back-to-back wins, isn't it, as well? If you can, I mean, yeah. we got Wilder got back-to-back wins in his second week in his few games. So hopefully, if we can hit a bit of form and consistency, we can keep it going. So hopefully.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me on this opposition preview, Craig. It's been an absolute pleasure and really, really insightful as well, mate.
Yeah, good luck for the rest of the season after 3 o'clock tomorrow.
Yeah, likewise as well. Likewise. Thanks so much, Craig.
No problem. Nice to speak to you.
And thank you, everybody, for joining me on this opposition preview show. Please do remember to hit the like, the subscribe and the bell button below to be alerted to any new videos we do here on Up the Cherries in all departments. Please also do remember to watch our interviews. We've had Steve Cook on the channel, Steve Fletcher, Efana Cuckoo, Harry Redknapp, Andy Bernal, Beth Powley, and the guys from Fair Game 2 as well. Of course, there has been the Crouch report that has been released, so I do encourage you all to have a read of that as well. Until the next video, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you then.